Greed is one of humanity's oldest sins, and one of the most dangerous. Because when desire turns into desperation, logic disappears. People start lying, stealing, and sometimes, killing. In the world of true crime, some of the most shocking cases didn't begin with hate or revenge. They began with money. From million-dollar scams to murders for inheritance, these are the 10 craziest crimes people committed for money. And before you judge, remember this. Every single person in these stories thought they'd get away with it. Case 1, the McDonald's Monopoly Scam. It began with a game. McDonald's promised customers that collecting Monopoly stickers could make them rich, free fries, free cars, even $1 million. But what millions didn't know was that the entire contest was being hijacked by one man. His name was Jerome Jacobson, a former police officer turned security chief for the marketing company that ran the Monopoly game. Jacobson had access to the winning pieces. So instead of sending them to random stores, he quietly gave them to friends, relatives, and accomplices, who won the prizes, then split the profits with him. For 12 years, he stole over $24 million worth of prizes. The FBI called it Operation Final Answer. Agents went undercover, posing as movie producers, interviewing fake winners, and slowly tightening the noose. In 2001, Jacobson was finally arrested, along with 50 others in the ring. It was the biggest fast food fraud in history. He served just over 3 years in prison. But the real damage? The millions of Americans who believed, for a decade, that anyone could win, if they were lucky. When greed takes control, the game always ends the same way. Case 2, the Bling Ring. Hollywood. A world of fame, luxury, and temptation. And for one group of teenagers in Los Angeles, it became their playground, and their hunting ground. Between 2008 and 2009, a group of high school friends broke into the homes of celebrities like Paris Hilton, Orlando Bloom, and Lindsay Lohan. Their motive wasn't survival. It was status. They stole designer bags, cash, clothes, jewelry, even wore the stolen outfits to nightclubs the same week. Security cameras caught them strutting through million-dollar homes like tourists at an exhibit. The ringleader, Rachel Lee, said later, "We just wanted to live like the people we watched on TV." When police finally caught them, they recovered nearly $3 million in stolen goods. Several members served short prison sentences, while others became infamous, inspiring the 2013 Sofia Coppola film The Bling Ring. Their story wasn't about poverty. It was about obsession. A generation hypnotized by fame, willing to risk everything just to look rich. Case 3, the Lufthansa Heist. At 3 a.m. on a freezing December night, a van pulled up to the Lufthansa cargo terminal at JFK Airport. 6 men stepped out, armed, masked, and silent. Their plan was simple: steal millions in untraceable cash flown in from West Germany. Their leader? Jimmy Burke, a ruthless mob associate of the Lucchese crime family, later immortalized in Goodfellas. Inside the terminal, they overpowered guards, handcuffed workers, and loaded $5 million in cash and $875,000 in jewels into their van. It was the largest cash robbery in American history at the time, equivalent to over $25 million today. But then, everything fell apart. Within weeks, people connected to the heist began to disappear. Bodies turned up in cars, trunks, and landfills. Jimmy Burke eliminated anyone who could link him to the crime. By the time the FBI built its case, almost every witness was dead. Burke was never convicted of the Lufthansa heist itself, but the money was never recovered. And the message was clear. In the world of greed, even partners become enemies. Case 4, Annasorokin, the fake heiress. She called herself Anna Delvey, a glamorous German heiress with a trust fund worth $60 million. In reality, she was Annasorokin, a broke 20-something from Russia with nothing but charm, confidence, and a dream of luxury. For years, Anna lived among Manhattan's elite, staying in five-star hotels, throwing lavish parties, and tipping hundreds in cash. She promised investors she'd open an exclusive art foundation in New York City. But the money never came. Because it never existed. Anna forged bank documents, conned friends, and scammed luxury hotels, running up debts over $275,000. Her empire of illusion came crashing down in 2018 when staff at a Manhattan hotel realized her credit cards didn't work. She was arrested and convicted on multiple counts of grand larceny and theft of services. To this day, Anna insists she never meant to steal, only to make it. Her story became a Netflix hit, Inventing Anna, but behind the glitz was a simple truth. In a world obsessed with wealth, pretending to be rich can be more dangerous than being poor. Case 5, John List, the family man who disappeared. He looked like an ordinary man, neat hair, glasses, polite smile. But behind closed doors, John List was drowning in debt. He'd lost his job. His savings were gone. His wife was sick. But to John, image meant everything. He couldn't bear to see his family fall into poverty. So on a cold November morning in 1971, he made a horrifying decision. He shot his wife, his mother, and his 3 children, one by one, inside their quiet New Jersey mansion. Then he left the lights on, the radio playing, and vanished. For 18 years, he lived under a new identity, remarried, and settled in Denver, Colorado. Until one day in 1989, his face appeared on America's Most Wanted. A neighbor recognized him. He was arrested and sentenced to life in prison. John List claimed he killed his family to save their souls from poverty, a chilling example of how greed and pride can twist morality into madness. Case 6, the Silk Road Empire. The dark web was supposed to be invisible, untraceable. But even there, greed left fingerprints. In 2011, a young physics graduate named Ross Ulbricht created Silk Road, an online marketplace for drugs, weapons, and illegal goods, hidden behind Tor encryption and Bitcoin transactions. For a time, it worked. He made hundreds of millions in cryptocurrency. Users called him Dread Pirate Roberts, a digital outlaw who promised freedom from government control. But greed has a way of breaking even the smartest systems. The FBI traced Bitcoin transactions, tracked server data, and in 2013, they caught Ulbricht in a San Francisco library, laptop open, chatting with buyers, still logged into Silk Road. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Ross claimed he built Silk Road to challenge authority. But in the end, it was about profit, and the illusion of power money can buy. Case 7, Elizabeth Holmes Theranos. She was hailed as the next Steve Jobs. Wearing a black turtleneck and speaking in a deep, confident voice, Elizabeth Holmes convinced the world that her company, Theranos, could run hundreds of medical tests from a single drop of blood. Investors poured in $700 million. Her company was valued at $9 billion. And patients trusted her with their lives. But none of it worked. Inside Theranos labs, scientists were pressured to fake results. Machines malfunctioned. Patients received false diagnoses. When the truth came out in 2015 through the Wall Street Journal, the illusion collapsed overnight. Holmes was convicted of fraud in 2022 and sentenced to over 11 years in prison. Her story is a reminder that when ambition becomes greed, innovation becomes deception. Case 8, the Tinder Swindler. He called himself Simon Leviev, the Prince of Diamonds. He wore designer suits, flew on private jets, and promised women a life of luxury. But it was all built on other people's money. Simon met his victims on Tinder, sweeping them off their feet with romance, travel, and trust. Then came the text that changed everything. "My enemies are after me. I need your help." One by one, women sent him thousands, believing they were saving the man they loved. But he used their money to fund new relationships, creating an endless loop of emotional and financial destruction. By the time authorities caught up, he'd scammed an estimated $10 million across Europe. He served just 5 months in prison for fraud. Simon now lives freely, even selling online business courses. His story became a viral Netflix documentary, proof that in the digital age, greed has gone global, and love can be the perfect disguise. Case 9, The Lottery Murder of Abraham Shakespeare. Winning the lottery is supposed to change your life. For Abraham Shakespeare, it ended it. In 2006, the Florida man won $30 million, and at first, everyone called him lucky. But soon, strangers, friends, and even family lined up asking for money. Then came Dee Moore, a woman who offered to help him manage his fortune. She gained his trust, took control of his finances, and within months, he vanished. For 3 years, she told everyone Abraham had moved away. Until police found his body buried under a concrete slab behind her property. Dee Moore was convicted of his murder and sentenced to life in prison. Abraham's story is one of tragic irony, a man who had everything, but couldn't buy safety from those who saw him only as a payday. Case 10, Charles Ponzi, the original con. Before crypto scams, before investment frauds, there was Charles Ponzi, the man whose name still defines financial deception. In 1919, Ponzi promised investors 50% profit in 45 days through international reply coupons. It sounded sophisticated. It was nonsense. He simply paid old investors with new investors' money, no business, no profits, just lies. Within months, he'd made millions, living like royalty in Boston, fine suits, mansions, limousines. At his peak, he was earning $250,000 a day, over $3 million in today's money. But when reporters investigated, the illusion crumbled. Ponzi was arrested, convicted, and deported to Italy. He died broke in 1949, a man whose name became a synonym for greed. To this day, the Ponzi scheme remains one of the most infamous financial crimes in history. From fake heiresses to digital scammers, from masterminds to murderers, all these stories share one thing. They weren't chasing survival. They were chasing more. More money. More power. More control. But greed never ends with enough. It ends with loss, of freedom, of life, of soul. In every courtroom, in every prison, in every cold confession, the same truth echoes. You can steal fortune, but you can't outrun consequence. So next time you hear about an easy way to get rich, remember this. Every empire built on greed eventually collapses. If you found this story intense, you're not ready for the next one. Hit subscribe, and join us as we uncover the crimes they never wanted you to hear.